For the first time in the season, we see the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge fly overseas to the only Spanish racetrack on the surface. It's the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and the road course, just under 3 miles in length, will play host to round number 3 of the next step just below the official iRacing IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. Welcome to Friday Night Primetime here on RaceSpotTV. I'm Miller Remple with Stefan Schlacke beside me in the commentary box today with, once again, Connor Matic behind the cameras for today's race. So, the first race in Europe this season, Stefan. It is important to note, though, that this will not be the layout of Barcelona we're all used to seeing. It is the historic layout, meaning that last chicane before the final turn, well, it's not going to be used today, meaning we could see ourselves with some pretty intense drag races down that very long front straightaway.
Yeah, not only that, but we're also using the old La Caixa hairpin, so that's also something that not a lot of people are used to seeing, not only in iRacing but also in the real life. So a little bit of a mix-up, but that gives us a really good close look at all the competitors and their cars, because today we not only have a different layout than we have seen thus far, we're also seeing for the very first time all 3 cars be represented in the race.
It's the first time all season that we've seen all 3 cars being represented, specifically in the GT4 category. It is still a mostly Porsche field out there at the moment. We do have one driver flying BMW colors out there, so props to our one and only BMW driver. A couple of people have dared to venture over to the brand new McLaren 570 GT4 machine as well. A car that has not really been too popular this season so far. A bit surprising on that front. Usually it is the well, it's the new car that gets all the attention. We're currently watching, though, Fabian Siegmann running his qualifying laps at the moment. He's rounding his second lap at the moment. He is currently 14th overall, 4th place in class for the TCRs with a 1:53.177 for his first lap. He's currently rounding his second.
Already a big split happening, about 4 seconds the difference is between the 2 pole sitters of the classes, so a little bit more than I expected, if I have to be honest, but it is still only about a second that separates first and last place in the GT4, so also a good job by everybody staying rather close together.
It is important to note that we could see a lot of these draft battles actually playing in more so with the GT4s than the TCRs, especially down the front straightaway, because these guys are going to be exiting that corner at such high speeds. These TCR machines, they're going to be hitting their rev limiter in the highest gear, in the longest ratio, about halfway or 2/3 down that front straightaway, which is going to be really, really crucial as we take a ride on board the Wingseatfeld machine of Fabian Siegmann. We're going to see if he can log in a faster lap here. Currently, the fastest time on the charts is a 1:53.128, so he is only half a tenth off of the race leaders for TCRs at the moment. It is an extremely competitive field. The top 5 separated by just 0.06 of a second. So as Siegmann comes around for the second time, will this be a faster lap, or will it be all for naught across the line? He comes 1:53.101. That will put Siegmann on pole for the TCR category.
So that means now 3 new drivers in the top 3 right now. But there we go, Miguel Freitas now into third, and George Simmons!
George Simmons tops the boards for the TCRs. Freitas ties with Siegmann for the second position. 2 drivers setting an exact dead even time. Now Rose Balfour's going to go top of the boards. Ginn is just a short ways behind, less than a 10th back, so it is an extremely competitive TCR field today, and more so, this is about the most competitive it has been all season long in the qualifying battles.
Yeah, and now I can finish my sentence correctly. We have 2 new faces right now on the front row for the TCR. George Simmons, obviously 2 times out there already. One time he won was in the battle for 3rd place, and the second time at Lime Rock Park 1 week ago he had a horrible race weekend, so he most definitely looks to get his nose very much to the front.
George Simmons is a driver that did not have the best of luck last week at Lime Rock Park, but he did come out swinging at Sebring for the season opener. He is going to like to pull it off. Of course, he had already finished both his laps, so it is going to be just another bit of a practice run for him. So this is going to be incredibly interesting here as we got Balfour on the pole. Less than a 10th back is, according to Guinness. A quarter second back from Ross is George Simmons. And it is an extremely tight TCR field. We watched David Toth, who just has 30 seconds left on the clock. So he's coming to the close of his second lap now. First lap was not long, so he must have had an incident somewhere on course. He's going to come across the line right about now. Where does this put him? 1:53.469. 24th place overall, third from last out of the drivers that set times in TCRs. Not the best of runs for him.
Not the best run indeed, but looking at it, it is just 6/10 of first place, so might look quite far down, but in reality, time-wise, it's not.
So, qualifying is complete. Let's take a run down through your official starting grid for round number 3 of the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Emmanuel Petri is going to be on pole position. Just about a quarter of a second back is Dylan Burst to sit it off in the first row for the GT4s. Gabe Besler will be sitting third with Samuel Spalletta in the 4th position. Gillian Salomon is rounded out the top 5. Over a second back is Lucas Cortez, so already a significantly more spread out field than the TCRs. In 7th place, we've got Guerlain Massing in 7th. Blake Neck is in 8th. Michael Janey is in 9th with Alessandro Barbagallo in the 10th position. Minoy Favre is going to be in 11th place with Antonin Titus in 12th. Henry Pitkinen is sitting 13th place with Etienne Leisure in the 14th position to round out a 14-car TCR field for today's race. So it's about split all the way down the middle. We're going to kick things off here for the TCR category with Ross Balfour on the pole position for the Brits. For the Frenchmen, though, it's going to be Corentin Guinness, who is just under a 10th of a second behind him in the 2nd position. George Simmons is a quarter second back in 3rd place. Fabian Siegman and Miguel Freitas just 1,000th of a second apart, sitting 4th and 5th positions respectively. Ollie Peacock rounds out row number 3. Miguel Garcia is going to be sitting 7th with Norbert Leitner in 8th. Isaac Jane is in 9th with Damian Owen Harris rounding out the top 10. David Toth is in 11th. Michael Schletter in 12th. Florian von Minkwitz in the 13th. Steen Ledger rounds out a 14-car TCR field. So perfectly split down the middle. 14 GT4s, 14 TCRs. About to come to life here as they've got a very short pace lap ahead of them, only taking the last quarter of the lap here. They're right before the brand new Lacaisha hairpin. Now, you talk about how this is a new hairpin here. Usually they would use the first engine, which is a lot tighter, but in 2021, it was revised, and now you're going to see they're going to be taking the long way around. So, your final thoughts here, Stefan, before we go green.
Yeah, technically the old new style of the Lacaisha hairpin used to be all the way in the back years of Formula 1 at this layout, but obviously the interesting part will be what will be our 2 McLarens be able to do during this race. And the most intriguing question, how can the TCRs handle their draft problem with hitting that limiter so early down the straight? This could obviously impose very interesting probabilities in the draft battles down into turn number 1. Let's see how it plays out. It's gonna be a very interesting 30 minutes.
Pace car is going to pull it off to pit road. It will be in the hands of Emmanuel Petri, who will take the field around to the green flag. The only driver to clock it into the 148s and qualified. He's on the loud pedal. We are underway in Iberia at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. We'll see the green flag fly for round number 3 of the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Great launch from the top 2, side by side for 3rd is Berkay Bessler, trying to get some speed and trying to keep 4th place driver behind him. Got the 5th place driver looking around as well. Cyber get contact and already cars getting sent around with the GT4s. 4 wide now, coming back on the track. It was just complete pandemonium here in the GT4s. They are going to survive it, sort of. Still looking a bit 3 wide, but they are completely settled. For the TCRs, 3 wide near the back as they thunder down towards turn 1 for the first time today. So far clean throughout the entirety of the grid. They do decide to double file now. Not a good idea to go 3 wide into turn number 1.
Yeah, much cleaner start here for the TCRs. Great to see that they can keep their cool right now. But I think there has been even more problems in the GT4s, and that's our sole BMW.
That is our sole BMW. Like you said, Antonin Titus, it was a big shot. 3-4 cars caught up in this one. It was practically a roadblock at the top of the hill here as they came down for turn number 4. Watch this here. It's that green Porsche right there. Just got tipped around right there. Titus just caught him in the middle. Then there's 3-4 cars with damage. They all spun off into the infield. That is not good at all to see those drivers getting so aggressive like that. They're still racing hard, though, all throughout the grid here. The TCR field in particular looking very, very spicy right now, especially in the battle for the lead. Look at how close they are through IMSA.
At top 5 right now in line, lands a little bit of a break back to Norbert Leitner in 6th place, but this is great going already. You can see the TCRs with the draft train already going quite nicely and strong, and this will be the play of the game.
One car off. Fabian Siebmann in the Hunzingfeld machine is off at the Lacaisha hairpin. Tried to have a big send 3 wide up the inside and got tipped off into the gravel. So I'm pretty sure Siebmann just missed his braking point, which is so unfortunate for him. It's not going to be the best of starts for him. He is all the way at the back now of the TCR field. Take a look at this replay. Silver car, bottom of the screen, moves to the left, way too deep on the brakes, and gets tapped from behind.
Oh. Actually, a little bit of a shove there for Siegmann. I think he would have even been able to easily make the apex, then make it stick, as we have a pass for the lead here in the TCR's Team Guinness, now into 1st place ahead of Ross Buffalo.
Made the pass done in turn number 1. The 2nd place driver now, Ross Balfour, did lift off to let him have the position. Decided it was not worth going side by side for the race lead on lap number 2 of a 30-minute race. So the top 6 are still running really close for TCRs. The GT4 field is basically entirely split up now because of all of the lap 1 attrition. So the TCRs, once again, just like Sebring, this is where it's going to be at for a good majority of the race, it seems. All 5 cars under a blanket. Balfour tries to look back for the race lead, but no dice on the entry through that turn there.
Most definitely, this is not the way or the place to pass right now. Has to wait for Lacaisha, which is actually quite the breaking point for the TCR. They can't really do too much on-throttle action through the early part of Lacaisha because it's so tight, and obviously with the front-wheel drive, these Audis are really struggling for any grip out there. But George Simmons, look at that, little bit deep, tries to go around the outside.
Couple cars sliding behind. Miguel Freitas just took a power slide right behind these guys for 4th place. That's dropped him back. So did Miguel Garcia in the Full Send Racing Machine. So a couple of drivers taking some slides through the Lacaisha hairpin there. So it's been a tight year for a lot of these battles here on the circuit. The battles are really just kind of everywhere on the track right now. We got this fight as well starting to heat up here in the GT4s, and one of the 2 McLarens is also right now involved in this battle, and this is for 3rd place in your GT4 category. Spalletta continues to kind of head this 3-car train here. You got 3rd, 4th, and 5th all under a blanket here. Lucas Cortez is running the 4th, Blake Neck in 5th. Neck is the first McLaren we got in the field, and 1 car's gone off here in the TCR category. George Simmons, I believe, was the driver that just took a slide. So it's getting a little bit messy here in the TCR field. Simmons tried to make a pass around the outside into turn 1. It went about as well as you could expect.
Now let's have a look here on board with the number 1 driver of George Simmons, Apex driver. Oh, that's already quite a squeeze there, and okay.
Talk about track limits. I mean, that's a gutsy pass if I've ever seen one. I'm not sure what he was thinking was going to happen there. I mean, he wasn't even pitched off the track. He just went clean off the track to try to make that outside pass. I don't know what Simmons thought was going to come out of that, but the good news is he did manage to kind of keep that throttle pinned to the floor, and that has allowed him to kind of keep this car steady. So the TCR field, he's starting to get quite physical. You got about a 6-car breakaway. The real battle is for Miguel Garcia just behind, because he's really holding up a big train of cars just behind these guys as they enter the Lacaisha hairpin once again. And just like that, looks like Garcia took a bad turn. David Toth goes through, cuts off the Hunzingfeld machine of Michael Scaletta, who gets him back with a good old bump and run through that corner there.
Yeah, quite interesting there. David Todd with that great passing opportunity because Garcia made that crucial mistake through Lacaisha. We have talked about that off the broadcast, off air. It is rather easy to make those mistakes into Lacaisha because it's so extremely deceiving, that entry, with how tight it actually is. And so, yeah, Garcia making that move there to the outside of George.
Side by side through turn one, they make contact again, and Garcia is going to be the loser in this one. Scoletter is going to go through in the number 4 Hoyt-Feld machine. David O'Hare's in the Fiercely 4 machine trying to go as well. He's going to go up the inside. So the Fiercely 4 driver of Harris takes a big chunk out of the battle here. Deep on the brakes. Oh, dear, he's going to go wide. Bumps Garcia out to the racetrack, 3-4 wide almost. Here at Barcelona, we say this track isn't the best racing. Now Garcia up the inside of his own teammate here of Steve Ledger. The teammates make contact now.
Somehow Catalonia provides great racing. I don't know how they do it, but that is just insane.
No, look out. What are you doing? Garcia way too deep, just scored his own full send racing teammate straight in the door. This is getting real ugly, real quick. These guys have got to calm it down. We're not even 10 minutes into this race. We've still got over 20 to go. Isaac James in the Fiercely 4 machine going to defend on the left side of the racetrack. Garcia trying to go around the outside, now trying to go for the over-under. Jane is going to hold strong. More bumper-to-bumper contact just behind him. And these guys, they're racing like it's the last lap of their lives here.
Yeah, you're saying it right there. They are racing so hard. They are costing themselves so much time as well. Just look at how much David Todt is already up ahead of Damon Owen Harris, one of our race winners this season already. So incredible how easy it is for David to just run away from these guys fighting the lives out of their cars right now.
This is one of the closest battles we got on the track here, but it has thankfully split up a little bit, so we can maybe start to catch our breaths here. All that content in the first half of the last lap. I say that. Whoa, Jane really wide through the gravel trap there on the entry to turn number 1. That's the hazard of braking a little bit too late. Got the back end, stepped out, and had to swing really wide to avoid running into the cars right in front of him.
Seems like Isaac just barely missed out on his braking point right there. Looking down from the jumper cam. Let's actually have a look how much he missed his braking point. There it is. It wasn't too bad, but just a little bit of a slide coming on together. Just barely misses Dean Ledger's up ahead.
Dean Ledger is no doubt thanking his lucky stars ever seeing another Audi barreling down on him in his rear view mirrors like that. That's never a comfortable sight to see. So the battle is still really raging on here all over the TCR field. You still got Scoletter and Harris going at it. This battle for second here, though, is starting to kind of pick up as well. So we've got a couple, for third place, as I've been corrected. Miguel Freitas is trying to fend off Ollie Peacock just behind. This is the battle for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, all under a blanket here. This is by far the most competitive TCR field that we have seen in a very, very long time in this season.
Yeah, very much so. Thinking back about Lamrock Park, where our third place guy, Miguel Freitas, actually was able to run away little by little, lap after lap, and thus finish the race about 4 seconds ahead of his nearest competitor. This time around, much different story. Can't really get up to the top 2, as George Simmons in behind looks to maybe do something on to 4th place, Ollie Peacock.
Not going to have the speed he needs down through turn number 1, so George Simmons is going to have to stick this one in line for now. He's going to have to be really patient here, kind of just really testing those anti-cut curves on the entry to turn number 1 there. Now Simmons might have a look here on the inside of Ollie Peacock in the full send machine. Nearly runs over that car there. Good grief. I mean, these guys, they just don't know when to quit, do they? They just keep going at it. They keep going at it, and sooner or later something is going to give here in one of these fields, and we are going to see the mother of all pilots.
It is TCR Racing. TCR stands for shoulder out racing, elbow out racing, and that's exactly what these guys do. Oh, look at that, Peacock with a big mistake.
Peacock ran a bit wide. That opened the door for Simmons, who's going to go through. Peacock trying to fight the outside line, but he is not going to be able to get nearly the run that he might have hoped through Worth. Now out through Capsa once again. Peacock is already trying to find the speed to get him back. He could actually get it here. So this is going to get pretty tense here. Will Peacock go for this move here into the Kaisha? We're going to have to see here. No, he's going to keep this one in line. Probably a smart move there from Ollie Peacock.
It is a little bit wide though for George Simmons right there through the exit of Lancashire. Brings it back to the left side though. So nothing be done for Ollie Peacock, but just look at that little bit of battling that these guys are doing. Already cost them quite a bit of time up to Miguel Freitasch.
Indeed. We got a battle going on here as well, further in the GT4s that we should probably check in on. It's been a while since we checked in on these guys. This is for 7th in the GT4 category. You've got Gurlane Macing, and you see Alessandro Barbagallo running a little bit wide just behind these guys, with Benoit Favor running in 9th place. These guys have kind of been close ever since the drop of the green flag, and they've been able to reel each other in as a result of all the attrition that's been going on. Thankfully, though, these guys have not come to blows quite yet, so we've been able to really kind of keep our eyes on those TCR battles, which are starting to peter off in their own right. And again, thank goodness for that, because it means we can get to other battles further up the field.
And in case you're wondering, where is the fastest McLaren right now? Well, you can't just about see it in these shots, but it is actually just up the road in 5th place right now. Blake Neck started in 8th place, obviously took advantage of all the carnage in lap 1, but so far so good for the 11th driver.
Favor is not going to be able to get the move done here into La Caixa, so at this point, the closest GT4 battle we got here is between Alessandro Barbagallo and Macing for the 7th position overall. There is the McLaren of Blake Neck threading his way around the track. He's one of 2 on the circuit right now. I believe the other one might be out of the race. Going to see. Oh, no, he is still running up there. It's Henry Pickenen, last place. Well, last place of the cars on track, at least, for the GT4 category. Henry Pickenen, his day could be going better. I think to say that is a bit of an understatement.
Yeah, most definitely not the race he has been looking for, but still, he was able to survive the lap 1 crash, and I think that is already quite the talking point for him.
Saw a lot of drivers caught up in that early race melee, especially in about turn number 4. The battle for first is starting to pick on in as well, as Ross Balfour, he's not been able to retake the lead since Corentin Guinness took it early on. He does have the potential here to make this one work, so the question is going to be, will he get the move done here in the next couple laps? You can't get the biggest amount of drafts down this front straightaway just because these cars top out so early on, but he does close in about 1/10 of a second, so that gap right about half a second thereabouts at the moment, and starting to close.
Starting to close also a little bit is the battle in behind for 3rd place between Freitasch and Simmons. Now that Simmons has been able to get himself a little bit of a breather to Ollie Peacock, has been sort of able to reel in the guy ahead for 3rd place. But obviously, Balfour and Guinness up ahead, they're not allowed to fight too hard because, well, obviously everybody in behind is still very close all the way back to Norbert Leitner, who is in 6th place.
We've also still got the battle for, I believe, 5th or 6th going on in the TCRs as well, and they are still as close as ever, basically almost running each other over every single corner. It's really something else, seeing these TCRs going back and forth the way they are. Everybody's kind of split up into their own trains. You got first on back to about the 5th or 6th position here, depending on how you want to look at it. And then you got 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, all under a massive blanket as well. So, Balfour tries to have a look up the inside on Corentin Guinness for the TCR race lead, but not close enough just yet to make it work. But still, he is closing him in. You also got to point out as well, you've probably noticed on the left side of the screen, the gap between 1st and 2nd place for the overall race leaders with Emmanuel Petri and Dylan Bierce. They are also closing. We're kind of keeping our eyes on both of these battles here at once. This gap about 1/4 of a second apart right now. The Porsche GT4s have been running very strong ever since the trials and tribulations that we saw early on in this race. So this could also be a battle that picks on up here, though the gap does increase there to about 4/10 of a second. That likely is just due in part to the nature of the track.
And actually you're seeing it on your screens right now on the left side on the tower. Legier and Neck are side by side, apparently going for that 5th place right now. Look at that, there we are. They have been probably going side by side for about 3-4 corners all the way starting at Seat. And look at that hungry Porsche back right behind him.
They actually started all the way back up at Repsol as that McLaren is just continuing to tumble down the order here. Gurley and Mason is trying to find a way through, squeezing the 570S in there on the apex of the corner, but Blake Neck is still able to maintain the position here that he needs to hang on to the car. Contact is made once, twice. Nearly sends Neck around, but he manages to somehow hang on to it in the 13th car, but that 25 machine is looking hungry, going to get the over-under here, and it is going to be a drag race all the way down the start-finish line. Blake Neck goes defensive right down to the pit wall. That's going to force Mason to go around the left side here, and it'll be the long way around turn one. Now, where does Barbagallo sit? Does he try to go for the move as well? It would be very wise to do so. Deep on the brakes, Blake Neck does give up the spot, and Mason is able to maintain that position. Count Gurley Mason up to 6th place overall.
Two more Porsches want to get past her. They're all wanting to stay in behind Mason, and right now the way that McLaren looks just not as stable, not as quick through the medium speed corners, probably also having already experienced a little bit of tire wear as well. Those Porsches just look too monumentous to hold them behind.
That McLaren is really starting to struggle right now, and I think we are starting to see the reasons here as to why this car has not been the most popular in the series from the start of the season. We thought it would actually be one of the big cars kind of coming into this season at Sebring. Well, not so much. I mean, the most of the cars we've seen for the McLaren is one or two, if that, in a race. We didn't even see any at Lime Rock Park. So I think that is kind of the big talking point, is that McLaren is not as strong as I think some people might have seen, especially over a longer run.
Yeah, quite honestly, I'm one of the guys that did think that the McLaren will most definitely has its strong points throughout the season, but just look at it right now. We have seen one McLaren in Sebring. It didn't do very well. We did see not a single McLaren throughout any practice session and even the race session at Lime Rock Park. And we only see two right here, and the fastest one is 7th place in this race. But that is also because a lot of people ahead of him dragged out in the first lap. So really intriguing how this McLaren performs. But obviously we also don't know how it does in endurance racing just yet.
David Toth just got shunted off the racetrack as Barbagallo is going to continue to go for the move. So a couple battles really going on here on the track. This car is going to be really tense here for this GT4 battle, but there has been a big scrap in TCRs, and that's just seen 3 cars get sent around there too. So there's a lot of chaos kicking off on the track right now. McLaren jumps back onto this battle, and it looks like we're going to be cutting back to that one, because here is the TCRs. There's Steam Ledger, one of the drivers caught up in this, so we're going to have to back this up by a few corners to get the full story here all the way to Capsa, because that is where all of the carnage in this one started out.
Whoa!
David Toth was the one that started it all off, and all this started when Damian Owen Harris got a bit of contact with him coming up to Kempsa. It was a battle that was starting to really rage in the second half of the racetrack, and unfortunately, there you see it, just too deep on the brakes, and I think that was payback for Damian Owen Harris, because the one corner ago, Harris had actually punted him off of the racetrack in the door.
Oh, and that is highly unlucky there for the 9 and the 4 as well, getting tangled together. Not really anywhere to go for both of them.
Right there.
Have a look on board there with Schlottelen.
You saw just on this board here of Schletter, there you saw that Fierce 4 machine send him off. And then watch this view here from the 4 car. All of a sudden, there is David Toth just slamming right into Damian Owen Harris, and there's just nowhere for the number 4 car to go.
Oh my goodness, that was even extremely close to that silver and orange car, whoever that was.
So that is going to pretty much eliminate the battle for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th in our TCR categories. Just about every single car was caught up in that. What did I tell you here, Stefan, earlier in the race? I said, sooner or later, one of these battles is going to give, and we're going to see a pile-up. Well, something just gave, and that was the pile-up that we were all fearing.
Yeah, most definitely. You called it right there quite nicely. Just, it was a ticking time bomb, and it finally went off. However, we still have one more battle, and this is the battle group for first position. Just look at how close all of these guys are. And actually, look at Simmons. He's extremely close to the back of Miguel Freitas.
And now Simmons will go to the right side. Freitas is trying to go defensive here, but Simmons does have the nose in there. That 18 car does the wise thing, backs off early. Let Simmons get the spot, but nearly runs the Apex Racing car over at the same time. Simmons getting close there. He's up to third place now in the DCR category. Now, first through sixth, all under a blanket here. And I kid you not, a quarter of a second separated first on back to the fourth position. Ross Balfour, who is now back in the race lead, he is in some serious trouble here if he wants to maintain that race lead.
Yeah, and obviously also Simmons is... Oh, neck around.
Blake Neck is around in the Lakaisha hairpin, and for the sounds of it, he was sent around by somebody else, so he might have had help from one of the Porsches. I believe it was the Fiercely Forward 21 of Michael Janey. So we're going to see here, off through Kempsa, in the draft run, all the way down this long run to the Lakaisha hairpin. Does the Porsche just misjudge that braking point? Oh, by a big margin.
Nowhere to go for Blake Neck. The answer most definitely is a firm yes of missing that braking point by a good 10-15 meters for Yen in behind. Yeah, highly unlucky. Look at that, just barely touched him as well. Just 2 more meters and he would have been able to clear the rear of Neck. But like that, Neck sadly around at about 3 positions or lost for him.
2 meters. That's all it takes. The smallest of touches will send those GT4s around. They're so fragile. These TCRs, though, clearly not so much. We've been seeing these guys really beating and banging all race long. Now, here is where the snaking really starts to happen. There you see first place, taking the field to the right. Now they're going to snake back to the left. It's not really working here. Oh, my word. Side by side from fourth now as Freitas is trying to hang on behind. Contact is made for the fourth position as the battles are continuing to pick on up here. Fourth place is really going out of here. Peacock is trying to door his way past Miguel Freitas, who is going to be able to hang on to this one for now, but maybe not, because here comes Peacock trying to not cut back. Get the undercut here on the 18 machine. Down into Renault, and will he get this one proper, or will he have to fight it around the outside of Seat?
Side by side through Repsol. Now he has the inside for Seat, which should give him back that fourth place position, but obviously they lost quite a lot of time already just going side by side through Renault and Repsol. However, it's going to be really a struggle now for Freitas to get back up there again, because that gap is already quite large. But the good thing is for him, Simmons, he has something to prove. He wants to get back up there again. So Simmons, probably the guy to look out for in this battle for first place to really make moves happen in the last 5.5 minutes.
Simmons was oh so close to getting victory at Sebring. He was just finishing off his second place, managed to take away the second place finish into photo finish as he kicked some cones into the shadow round there with his Audi RS3 LMS. I'll tell you what, that's what Simmons wants more than anything right now. He wants to get a win here. He knows he can do it. We know he's able to do it. He's just got to get into the right circumstances to be able to make it work. Just 5 minutes remaining, estimated probably about 3 minutes on the clock here. Does George Simmons have the time he needs to run down these drivers for the race lead? Balfour gets a much better run off of the last corner, so that means that Courtney Ginn is at a severe disadvantage here. And George Simmons has got nothing for that number 3 car at the moment.
Yeah, but that number 3 car nearly had something for the number 5 car, and that would have been the bumper, as those 2 cars extremely close going into turn number 1, but thankfully no contact made between the 2.
No contact yet. I think that's the important thing to say. No contact yet, because I would not be surprised if we saw a little bit of door contact being made towards the end of this race. Simmons tends to be a pretty clean racer, as we've seen from his incredible battles at Sebring. Can't exactly say the most, though, for the rest of the TCR field so far in this race.
Yeah, most definitely has been quite the cluster truck, to say the least, in the TCR class. However, apart from those incidents further down the road, these guys have been able to keep it clean, except for that little bit of elbow bumping that they have been doing pretty much throughout the whole race.
Alessandro Barbagallo going to try to make the move here on the inside of Lucas Cortez into turn number 1. Backs out, didn't get the run that he needed. But both drivers are a bit wide for the run as well, so that compromises them both for turn 2 and for turn 3. And that is going to severely back up Barbagallo in this battle here for the 7th position. Sorry, the 6th position with Lucas Cortez. So not to miss the runs for Barbagallo if he's trying to close on in and maybe come away from this race with the top 5. Battle for the overall race lead is also continuing to close here as Petri is still hanging on from Dylan Burst, who has not been able to find a way through just yet. They're in the run to the Caixa now. I believe they're going to have 2 laps to go at the line this next time by. So not a lot of time left for any of these drivers to make these moves. They're going to have to really make something work quickly here. At this point, Burst he's got to be getting desperate, surely at this point. I know the TCR is getting desperate, though, as Guinness thought about going around the outside of turn 1 last time by, but decided to back off, reset, and wait for another run.
Yeah, what is honestly incredible is the gap that first and second have in the GT4 class. 15.4 seconds split second from 3rd place Samuel Spalletti. So just incredible the pace those two have been able to put up and still be in that fighting position for the overall win.
It's so close between all of the drivers right now on the grid. It's one of those cases, again, where we don't know what battle to look for. I would say let's look back to the GT4s, though, as Burst has finally caught Emmanuel Petri, but runs wide to turn 3, compromises himself once again. The problem is, Burst is so good. The first 2 corners, he closes up so much, but he's just not, he doesn't have it in turn 3, and he keeps on compromising himself over and over again, lap after lap. He has to wait for Petri to make a mistake. Petri has just been so spot on all race. I don't think Petri is going to be making the mistake that Burst needs.
Yeah, it is the question, can Burst get Petri to make that crucial mistake that he needs him to make to be able to pass? Because most definitely seems like that these two are pretty much equalizing each other in this race, where the one is strong, the other one is weak, but at the same time not weak enough so that Burst can make that pass happen. Now just look at that, 7 goes a little bit wide. Burst loses once again half a tenth to the 2 ahead of him.
Oh, here goes Guinness trying to go for the race lead all over the racetrack. Left, right, left again. Tries to make the dive bomb on the outside for 1. Not able to get it, but Balfour put himself in the defensive. That has compromised his line. Here comes Simmons. Dunk on the inside. Oh, no! He's going to dunk the 2nd place driver as Guinness somehow recovers the car. George Simmons up to the 2nd step on the podium. That's so clean this time from the number 1 machine. He still has a chance to run down Balfour.
Also, by the way, it seems like something happened to Peacock at some point, because he dropped all the way back behind Norbert Leitner, and those 2 are now quite far off the back of Freitag, so it looks like it's going to be a fight between those 4 guys for the race win.
Still not a lot of time left at all. Peacock is going to try to make this move. Here is almost thought about having to go into one of the worst places to pass ever, and that's going to cause Peacock to get off. 10 seconds left on the clock here today. This means this is the white flag lap. Emmanuel Petri rounding the circuit for the final time today. He still has to hold Dylan Burst at bay in the overall battle for the GT4 race lead. Petri has still got so long. He's got to hang on for it. He just has to go for a little bit longer. He has been so on point all race long. He has got to make sure everyone is going to support him. The slightest mistake will put Dylan Burst right up his trunk. So down into La Caixa for the final time today. Can Dylan Burst get it done? I don't think he's going to have anything for Emmanuel Petri. Is going to round this final corner here for the final couple of corners for the last time today. Going to be rounding through Europe car right about now. And then he's going to take it through New Holland. One more One more turn to go. Emmanuel Petri is going to come off of the final corner. He will take the victory and hold on for victory here in the GT4s. Ollie Peacock dumping down the time in order, so something has happened to Ollie Peacock in this battle as it is swapped again between himself and Leitner. The battle for first, second, third, and fourth, though, still yet to be decided in this one.
Actually, Freitash might already be out of that battle because he's now 8/10 behind Guinness. There you can see that gap between third and fourth place. So it seems like it's only going to be between Guinness, Simmons, and Balfour for this win here at Catalonia.
Still one more chance. The race is not over until it's over. Look at the run that Simmons has here as he comes up to Capsule here. If Simmons is going to make this pass, it is going to be here. Gives him the bumper on the exit of Capsule now. This is the last chance that George Simmons will have. He has got to make that move here. Balfour knows he's going to make the move here. He's going to go way on the defensive to the left side of the racetrack. Simmons, deep on the brakes, trying the outside line through Lakaisha. Can he get the pass done? No, he cannot. So Rouse Balfour still holds the inside line and still holds the race lead on the exit of the Lakaisha hairpin. Final series of corners for the last time today. Here comes Guinness trying to upset George Simmons' run for the lead to try to maybe see if he can pick up the second position. But Guinness is going to sacrifice that run as he is going to get himself trapped in the sand. Still close up at the back of the Simmons. Here we go. Guinness up the inside into the final corner, but does nothing for him. It will be Ross Balfour to take victory here today. George Simmons once again in the drag race. He hangs off for second, though. Quarantine again is going to be in third, and the rest of the field files through behind them. Oh my word. I'm at a loss. I am at a loss for that finish there. That was one of the most thrilling races I have ever witnessed at this facility. And there you see one of the DCRs doing some power sliding through turn number one. And why the heck not? It's been a race that's well in deserve of them. Oh my goodness. This is Ross Balfour, your race winner, trying to get his Formula Drift license. You gotta hold the slide, Ross. You don't want to be constantly jerking around like that. The judges in drift racing don't like you to do that.
I mean, it still is very impressive slides if you think that this car is front-wheel drive and he has to kind of use the handbrake in a weird style to actually get this car to drift that nicely.
Everything has been officially finished. We will take a look now at your official post-race results. Round 3 of the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. For the GT4s, Emmanuel Petri hangs on for the race lead with Daniel Burst just 0.4 of a second behind. 18 seconds back is Samuel Spalletta to round out the podium. Etienne Leisure is going to be in 4th place with the biggest mover of the race, moving 10 spots from last place in his class to 4th. Geraldine Macy is going to be in the 5th position. Lucas Cortez is in 6th. Alessandro Barbagallo in 7th. Benoit Favre in 8th. Michael Jenny in 9th. Berke Besler in 10th. Blake Deck will be in the 11th position with Henry Pickerton in 12th. Gillian Salomon in 13th. And Tony Titus going to be in 14th place. The bottom 2 drivers not finishing the race, eliminated early on. In the TCRs, Ross Balfour takes victory just 0.6 of a second up from George Simmons. Quarantine again is not able to get it done. He is going to be in 3rd position for the Frenchman. Miguel Freitas in his home race is going to be in the 4th position with Norbert Leitner rounding out the top 5. Ollie Peacock is in 6th. Fabian Siegmund 7th. Miguel Garcia in 8th. Isaac Jane 9th. David Topp rounds out the top 10. Steve Ledger is in 11th. Florian Van Minkvich, the last car on the lead lap overall, in 12th place. For the TCR's 24th place overall. Michael Scoletter not finished the race 7 laps down, along with Damian Owen Harris, who is also 7 laps down. They are both eliminated in a mess of their own doing. Oh boy. I am honestly, I'm still at a loss for words. I mean, what do you say to a race like that? That is just unbelievable.
I mean, what can you say? Carnage, incredible fighting. It had it all. It also had a little bit of a breather moment for about 2 split seconds, and then was right back at fighting violently all the way over the track. I mean, even the GT4s had very great battles throughout their field, even though it was in very sporadic moments, but they had them. And for them, Catalonia is that of one style track where it's just too awkward to really produce any battles. But most definitely, TCR showed that Catalonia can most definitely provide very exciting racing.
Well, judging from the fact that there was a little furry creature behind you there that was kind of doing a little bit jumping around just there, I think we're not the only ones that like that race. I think he was or she was actually kind of having a very exciting time with this too. So, oh my gosh, I mean, again, at a loss for words, Barcelona is one of those tracks. It has a reputation. Not a very good one when it comes to races. It's usually kind of on the duller side, especially with the open wheel side of things. We saw this especially with the Dallara Formula IR series that came here. But the Michelin Pilot Challenge, it's a series that it doesn't matter where you go, it will always deliver. I think this is the perfect example of that. It can deliver an exciting race wherever you go. It doesn't matter what reputation the track has.
Yeah, I think it is just the fact that the Audi isn't your typical race car. It is that front-wheel drive car, and I think that's what gives it such a great probability of always producing great racing, no matter what the track looks like. Like obviously, if you go to a go-kart-like track, it's not really gonna have the ability to provide that great racing. But even then, you might not be able to really tell if it's going to create, because it is the Audi, it is the Michelin Pilot Challenge. You never know what happens in the Michelin Pilot Challenge.
Well, let's kind of look forward as well because you got Sonoma Raceway next. It's going to be on April the 6th. That this next race happens, or when it switches over. That's when the date switches over, at the very least. So, Sonoma Raceway is going to be interesting because we're going to the old Cup historic layout, and that, for those that know, it doesn't go into the infield there where it meets up with the dragway that goes right down the middle. That is the version that the Cup cars used to use up until, I believe it was scheduled to be 2020, but it was a layout that was used for a good portion of modern day Cup racing. So that should be an interesting race. It's not the longest of tracks. It is a very technical track. It is extremely difficult to pass. A lot of elevation change, too. A lot of places where the GT4s in particular have a lot of areas where they could potentially go off the track. I think, of course, Philip out of the Nordschleife around the first half of the season, and there are a lot of entertaining tracks, I think, that are going to be coming up here next.
Yeah, Sonoma most definitely will be a track that is more driver-focused rather than car-focused. You said it, Sonoma, it offers such great elevation changes that the GT4s will most definitely struggle with keeping their rear end in balance and in check. TCRs, they, I'm pretty sure, will once again create a very great racing for us because they have 3 passing opportunities. They have the hairpin that is the last turn on the track. They also have that weird 90-degree right-hander, which opens up a very awkwardly and then closes right back up with that wall coming back, and then the hairpin right after that once again. So they still have their passing opportunities. They will still create great racing. The GT4s, however, we might see the very first time where a lot of people crack under pressure.
The GT4s tend to be a lot more attrition-filled this year. I think that's kind of a safe thing to say. It's been the TCRs that have provided us a lot of the action in all 3 races so far. The GT4s were a bit of an exception last week at Lime Rock Park, so I think you're right. It's going to be another case of the GT4 field will be kind of, they'll be the ones to be the stars of the shows to look out for next week at Sonoma. Not really surprising. There's a reason why everybody likes those cars. They race so well together, and it's because they are so low speeds. You just can't find a better car to race with here on the surface.
Yeah, exactly. In general, front-wheel drive racing is great racing because it always keeps the drivers close together because it has that even playing field because it is front-wheel drive. I mean, we have to say GT4s, they did provide a great race at Lime Rock Park. They were the action point at Lime Rock Park. Wasn't as much the TCRs as it was the GT4s there. So I still have hope for Sonoma for the GT4s, but as said, it's going to be more talking point about how the drivers face the track rather than the cars itself.
It's always going to be down to the track at this point with the GT4s from here on in. There's a lot of very entertaining things that are going to be coming up, but that, as much as I'd like to keep talking about this sort of thing, that is all the time that we are going to have for one day. So, It's time to wrap up yet another presentation of Friday Night Prime Time. I have been Nola Rembo with Stefan Schleicher, bringing you all the coverage start to finish tonight, with Andre Matic once again doing a fantastic job behind the cameras for today's race. Thank you for joining us for yet another race of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge here on RaceSpotTV Prime Time. We will see you all next week at Sonoma.